part of the 7th Gurkha Rifles from the Dharan, Dankut, Ilam area. Anyone from that eastern Nepal here? Yes, okay, thank you. Okay, so I served 8 years in the Gurkhas. That picture was taken 28 years ago. That picture was taken just 2 years ago. So the uniform still fits. And obviously that's where I learned Nepali. And it takes Laksha Duidin Laksha to speak Nepali fluently, but it takes about 2 days to get into my mind. I arrived last night only, so it's been a quite short transition. Secondly was really, in the army I came to Nepal many times for pension paying, welfare work, recruitment of Gurkhas, but also after that my Himalayan expeditions, which I've climbed many, many mountains in Nepal, including the big one, Everest, Sagarmatha in 2006. And more recently, the medical project which we've been running, Myra Himalaya, Medicine in Remote Areas Himalaya, which stemmed after the Nepal earthquake in 2015. And I'm a former qualified paramedic, and I just put my skills, Nepalese paramedic, acclimatization, to go work. At the start, it was just emergency relief, but it's gone on, and we've got this project now with some sponsors on board. We are always looking for more sponsors, providing health and hygiene education and medical aid in the hills of Nepal. I also come back increasingly for work in Nepal for my leadership team development program. So I do a lot of different things. As Anil, your MC, said, I hold a couple of Guinness World Records, but I've got two that you're not so familiar with. I was the first person and only person ever to fly an Airbus A380 model from the summit of Everest. Wait till you clap. This was taken at base camp, and Airbus asked me, Adrian, is it possible to take the A380 to the top of Everest for a picture for the Airbus website? So I did. That is at the top of Everest. The biggest single problem climbing Everest, of course, is lack of oxygen. I couldn't get oxygen in my lungs, let alone blow up this A380 model. But William, where's William here? Photography, even in 2006, we have some great change of Photoshop editor. That went on the Airbus website. That is reality, that is spin. Anyway, there is a Tibetan farmer probably coming across this model in about 10 years' time saying, what is this? Anyway, that was that. My other second world record was I was the first person, I believe, in history to summit Everest using the drug Viagra. Now you're laughing and you think I'm joking. Viagra was originally invented because it increased blood supply to all your vital organs, not just your vital organ. And anyway, so I did summit Everest to help prevent altitude sickness. So did it work? Well, there's women and children here, we'll keep it very quick. But true story, the makers of Viagra, I've forgotten, who is it? The makers of Viagra, Pfizer, regular user in the corner here, ladies and gentlemen. Pfizer called me a few years ago and they said, Adrian, we want to do an advertising campaign on the benefits of Viagra. Would you be happy to do this campaign? They wanted me to feature in this advertising campaign of Viagra. Would you believe it? Me on the Sheikh Zayed Road in Dubai. Adrian Hayes uses Viagra. Anyway, I said, what is your commercial terms? And he said, we're prepared to give you 12 months free supply of Viagra for your own personal use. Anyway, enough about that. So what I'm going to talk about quickly for the next 15 minutes, so we've wasted enough time already, is about sustainability, Nepal, and adventure tourism. Now let's talk first of all about this concept, sustainability. It is the most overused word in the world today and the most misunderstood word. I have not heard one world leader actually recognize and understand what this concept actually means. So when you talk about sustainable route to getting 5 million visitors to Nepal by 2030, you've got to get this model in your mind to start with. How are we going to do it sustainably? Here is the model. Everything we do, everything governments do, companies do, industries, people, households, falls into one of three categories. It falls into our economy, our businesses, into our society, or into our environment. And what leaders don't get is these are not three separate issues. What you do in one will affect all three together. And you cannot solve problems in one without looking at all three together as well. That is sustainability right in the middle. Now, if you go back one, in the world as we lived in, up until 100 years ago, changed today. And there's people going around climate change, and we're looking at recycling and turning off our showers and turning the heaters down. That's bunk compared to the real biggest problems. One of them is eating animal products. It is the biggest single, it was one of the biggest single issues. When Asian world comes out of poverty, what happens, people increase their consumption of animal products. It takes 7 to 10 times the land to produce 1 kilogram of beef that it does to produce 1 kilogram of grains. That's number one. And here's a little quote to say the impact of livestock farming has done more to alter the type of vegetation and landforms of the West than all the water projects, mines, power plants, the lot put together. It's a serious issue. Deforestation of everywhere due to this. One of the reasons is due to this. The second reason, economic growth itself. We are obsessed with growth without thinking of the effects on economy in our society. And economic growth was fine if we had 7 planets to live on, but we've only got 1. And anyone who believes exponential growth, this was written by President John F. Kennedy's economic advisor. Anyone who believes exponential growth can go on forever in a finite world is either a madman or an economist. He was an economist. And the third one, so this is a real big problem. The third one is the white elephant in the room, the one that's rarely ever spoken about. What do you think that is? Population, yes. Population. We simply cannot sustain 7.3 billion people on our planet, let alone 10 billion or 15 billion. So we have to, and it is one that is swept under the table. Every environmental group, pretty much everyone, refuses to acknowledge it. And yet, the raging monster land is population growth. In its presence, sustainability is but a fragile theoretical concept. So you get what I'm saying? You've got to look at this. So when you come to Nepal, Nepal and what you're doing, think of these 3 models. How is it going to affect society? How is it going to affect our environment? So that's the first thing. Then the second one, I'm going to talk about adventure tourism. Adventure tourism. Now, adventure tourism is exploding. Now, why is that exploding? Well, 3 major reasons. Number one is it's easier to do it now. The internet has providing everything. You can go water rafting down in Chitwan, you can go elephant riding, you can go kite surfing across Greenland, you can climb Kilimanjaro, you can do everything. It's online. So it's easy to do it, and demand is supply is just meeting the demand. So that's one reason. Second reason is I think people in today's world now, the internet again has changed everything. They're looking at the world around us and thinking there's more to life than working 12-hour days for the good of a corporation's share value. People want more meaning, more direction, more purpose. 20 years ago, to do an Ironman triathlon, that's a 3.8-kilometer swim, a 180-kilometer bike ride, and a marathon together. I've done 3. But 20 years ago, it was only a handful of idiots did it. Now there's thousands and thousands doing every single race. Kilimanjaro is just, again, used to be a few people. Everyone's doing it now. And Everest Base Camp, and I'll come to Everest in a second. People want to do this. And the third reason is that I'm going to William. Where's William here? Has he gone? Okay. William's photography. We're now social media the last 10 years. We can now put it on social media. And we can show the world, look where I am. And it's the same whether you're on a business class, on an aircraft, drinking that champagne, and it's posted, or I'm Everest, or I'm on Kilimanjaro. We've become a whole... And I write about this in my new book on K2, which is called One Man's Climb. It'll be released in a few months' time. I write in the opening chapter, its significance. We're just feeling the need to be significant. We're seeing everybody else do this on social media. And we feel we need to do it too. So it's not just enough now to do an Ironman triathlon. You've got to get a sub-11-hour time or a sub-10-hour. It's not enough to go to Everest Base Camp. You've got to climb Everest. It's not enough just to go to Annapurna Base. You've got to go single-handedly on one leg with blindfold to show you've done it and nobody else has done it. So there's a lot of gimmicks out there. And there's a lot of people using, I'm doing it for charity. I'm going to climb Everest to raise money for cancer research. Hold on, folks. It costs $30,000, $50,000 to climb Everest. Don't tell me you're doing it to raise money for charity. You're doing it for yourself. Thank you. I'm getting hot here. I'm getting bothered. No, and I'm very, look, I do my things for the world. Can someone take this jacket off me? Thank you. Hey, Chris. I'm getting hot. So I do my things for the world. I've got this, my medical project in Nepal. I speak, I write on sustainability. That's my little bit for the world. I do my leadership programs for people, my leadership programs, my team development programs, my executive coaching programs. I'm not very good. I'm the best in my price range. But anyway, I do these for people. I do these expeditions. I don't do it to I do these for myself. And I think there's a lack of integrity about why we're doing it. So adventure tourism is exploding. And of course in Nepal, as we saw, I could show many, many pictures. This is in Langtan last year. You've got a fantastic natural resource, an amazing natural resource. And how do you capitalize on it sustainably? How are we doing for time? I've got about 5 minutes, I think, more. 10 minutes, yeah. So how do you capitalize on sustainability? So what can Nepal do about it? Well, think of this. Just think of this model as you do it. So, number one, my friend Bibu Thakur reminds me, Kathmandu had a population of less than 1 million, yes, 25 years ago. It's now got Kathmandu Valley about 10 million. I'm going to be honest, I'm going to be controversial here, folks, please forgive me. Kathmandu is choking. It is absolutely choking. It cannot sustain what you've got now, let alone 5 million visitors. It is crawling to a standstill. And also, and the worst thing for me, I've been coming for 30 years. I've come to Nepal countless times. The air quality is becoming terrible. It's not just in Kathmandu Valley, it's becoming terrible across the whole region. You've got to do something about your traffic, your public transport, you're getting people into the cities, get them back out to there. Pokhara Airport, I know, is coming online, international flights to Pokhara. You've got to do something about Kathmandu Airport, I know that's coming. And these are all sustainability options. You've got to make it easier for people to come to this country. And on a longer term basis, you've got to have a population policy, reducing your birth rate, because it cannot sustain. Many Asian countries, including Bangladesh, are doing this very successfully. You've got to confront these issues because you're just grinding under the weight of your population. So there's one thing that I believe you've got to do. I don't know what the next slide is. Secondly, I'll go back one. Secondly, can I give one thing? Nepal, get a time zone that we can work with. Honestly, Nepal is GMT plus 5 3/4 hours. That is bunk. You know how ridiculous, how difficult it is for me to arrange conference calls. When I'm here, I have to call with Hong Kong and Singapore and UK and US. How difficult it is to arrange this. Push your clocks forward 15 minutes, like Bhutan does. Incidentally, Bhutan has a lot of lessons we can learn from on sustainable development. Push your clocks forward to GMT plus 6. Then we can all live and you can communicate, people communicate with you. That represents an outward-looking Nepal, not an inward-looking Nepal with its own little time zone, just to be 15 minutes different from India. I think that was the history behind it. Get that time zone. Thirdly, get away from get a more sustainable policy of venture tourism that doesn't just concentrate on Everest Base Camp or Everest, but goes to, or Annapurna Base Camp, but looks at the other areas. Because there is an impact, there will be an impact on too many people going to the most popular areas. It will impact a society, and I know myself, there's Solukhumbu area is a rich place now. Western Nepal is not. Get people into this untouched areas, get them away from the tourism trails. Thank you. I said something there. Get the providers. The trouble is, the world is hooked on this significance, Everest Base Camp and Annapurna Circuit. Get the providers, you tourism providers, to put other mountains and other treks in. It's a fantastic resource you've got. Use it. And and once you get the demand and say, look, go somewhere off the beaten track, people will come to that. And the final thing is, you're great. I'm going to go back finally with what I started with. Your greatest resource, Mount Everest. You've got to sort that out. I was asked on radio, do my interview on radio the other day, has Everest become a circus? And I said, you know what? There's too many people there. And I was with some climbing friends last night, and they came back, the pictures of rubbish at Camp 3. It's not being done, but Everest is a microcosm of the world at large, of Nepal at large and the world at large. Too many people that the land can hold. Everest cannot sustain 1,000 or 800 climbers at Nepal side and a few hundred in Tibet trying to climb it. And it's becoming every year a great controversy. And I beg you, those in the tourism industry, to sort this out, to put up the fees, make it more harder for people to afford. Get a minimum requirement of another 8,000 meter peak before you go there. There are people on Everest who shouldn't be there. And get the operators not to go the first rush any time the weather window comes in, is to spread it out. You know, it's sad for me to say that I summited 12 years ago. Would I go back now? And the answer is no. I don't want to go back with this huge crowds and rubbish and human effluence. It's your greatest resource. Please, please sort it out and return it to the treasure that it once was, and it still can be if you reduce the numbers. And that requires going back, surprise, surprise, to the model and saying it's not just about economic growth and income to the country on getting Everest climbers. What is sustainable? Yes? So, I think we've got, can I just, the next slide? We've got a, next slide, we've stuck there. There we go. So there's my, and I've cut it down very short about my sort of urging Nepal. Nepal is a country dear to my heart. I love your country. It's the country I've been to more than any other country in the world, apart from the ones I've actually lived in. It's dear to my heart, and I love your mountains, I love your scenery, I love your people, I love coming here. But it's becoming difficult. And I'm being honest with you, it's becoming very difficult to survive in Kathmandu now. So please sort it out, and please, yes, 5 million visitors, but that's going to take time, but do it with this model in mind. What is that? Economy, society, and environment, not just economy its own. Or put another way, people, planet, profit, not just profit alone. Thanks so much, everybody. I'm here around for questions. I wish you all the best and best of luck conquering your own Everest. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.